we might be kind of not fully ready to take up a new opportunity. So, just for me, before I get started, this session was specially designed for people who are on a career gap for any of the reasons. So, if you are one of them, definitely this one is for you. So, just to give you a little bit of background about myself before we get started, I'm just reading the chat also in between that. So, if you have any further details about how long your career gap has been, just put that also in the chat. That will give me an idea of how long is the gap in your career. So, if it is few months, few years, whatever it is, just put on the duration of your gap in the chat if possible. So, about myself, just before we get started into the session, I would just give a little bit of introduction about myself, and then we will dive into the topic. Um, so, I am basically a chemical engineer by education, and I basically came from my hometown in Kashmir to complete my engineering from Mumbai and completed my chemical engineering. And I uh, got into the final semester of my engineering, and I realized that uh, I had not done really exceptional in my engineering, and I was not getting placed in most of the companies because I was not eligible. But somehow, because I gave a try to a company which was coming on campus, I was not eligible to apply. I still tried, and out of a lot of students, 600 students, I was the one of the six who got selected. And I realized what changed in my life, or in my approach towards the entire process of approaching a job, was more in terms of my own mindset and the way I was approaching uh, a company, or the way I was approaching my answers. So, uh, I would get to the first secret which I want to discuss today. Uh, but before that, I want to tell you that I personally am a very firm believer of thinking in terms of energy with which your mind operates. It shows in your behavior. So, like I said, I had not done very good in my engineering, so I was operating at a very low frequency of guilt, apathy, and I was kind of feeling very low. And to top it all, most of the companies were not giving me the chance also to sit for the aptitude test. Now, uh, what happened is that I somehow got connected to a very positive group of people, and in my neighborhood, there was a friend who was into meditation, reading, and she got me into this group who used to, do meditation together, read a lot of books together, and that somehow changed a lot of things in me in terms of my approach towards problems and my approach towards uh, approaching a company, approaching an interview. And though this company was coming and I was not eligible, I still, gave it my best shot. I got the guts to talk to the placement officer and tell him that I'm falling short by only few percentage points, and please let me sit. And he was like, there are so many students who are sitting, so let this one girl also sit for the aptitude. And then things, then in the interview, they couldn't ask me anything technical because I was a chemical engineer. But then things changed, and they asked me general HR questions, and I was with the attitude, I'm giving my best. Whether I get selected or not, that's kind of up to the will of the company. So with that attitude and that mindset, um, I got selected. Out of the 600, I was one of the 6 students who got selected. And with that, I then realized that technical coding was not something that I enjoyed. So I decided in 2008 to do an MBA in marketing to kind of get into the business side of things. And 2010, the market was again not that good. So I got into sales role for some time, and then into pre-sales role. And then in 2012 again, after I got married in 11, 12, I was kind of, I don't know if many of you are women here who are kind of on a break here because of the pregnancy, marriage, and all those kind of things. I was also kind of contemplating at that time to kind of take a break in my career because I was not having a lot of support system at home. Um, but somehow that time an opportunity with Capgemini landed, and that company was very flexible in terms of they used to give a lot of work from home in between for few days in a month. We could take work from home, which Indian companies at that time never used to give, like any number of days in a month also work from home. So that is how kind of I progressed in my career with a lot of other companies, Capgemini, Accenture, and I had worked in L&T, Infotech, etc. also, and that was kind of my journey into this entire. And I realized that if somebody in my career was there who could have guided me early on, I could have saved a lot of trauma that a lot of tension and a lot of struggle that I kind of went through because I didn't have a right direction in my career. So that's the reason, this is my passion, and I kind of like helping people to kind of get into the roles that they are most suitable uh, for, to prepare to help them. And this uh, this is a brief about me. But now getting to the gap career gap topic which we are, I see a lot of people here have a gap of 2 years, 3 years. And okay, I think the questions have started pouring in what to tell. Yeah, so we are getting to that. So first of all, first things first. Uh, First of all, we have to kind of start operating from the space that though there is a gap in our career, we are capable, and we have to start taking in responsibilities, e- either in you know whether it is organizing some sort of getting yourself upskilled with the help of some courses, or doing some free projects for some NGOs. But basically you kind of have to show uh, and also keep yourself updated with the latest happenings in the market, is what I can, tell you right now, though we are yet to kind of get into the gist of this entire topic. In terms of, there is a lot which we can do in terms of, right from first of all fixing our the way we are operating to, like I said, mindset is the base of everything. So if we are kind of not operating from the space that we are good enough, then that shows across in our interviews. So it childbirth or any sort of gap is completely acceptable, but you just have to kind of be able to justify that you have been even in this gap you have added some sort of skills to you know to your self, which have to be required for, are required for any of the jobs. So uh, let's first start with the first secret, which is the secret of vibrating at a higher frequency. So, like I said, I personally have believed that operating at a higher frequency, wherein uh, we are operating from the space that there are no emotions of guilt, and no emotions of regret, etc., in our mind, that will show up in our the way we approach in our interview, our the way we approach our answers in the questions. So at this point, I just want to show this graph. I don't know if I'll just share my screen, and probably you can let me know if my screen is loading or not. Can someone please confirm if my screen is visible? On the chat, you can just type visible if it is visible. Okay, thanks for that. So, if you can see, I don't know if any of you have seen this chart or not, but all these emotions, every emotion has a particular frequency attached to it. And yesterday, being Mother's Day, I was kind of doing a little bit of a research on working mothers. A lot of working mothers operate from this vibration of guilt, because they feel that they're not able to spend enough time with their baby, and they are guilty for not being able to do that, and that's why they kind of take a break on their career. Or it can be anything: guilt of not having good marks in your um, career, guilt of not having big brands on your resume. There can be a lot of reasons why we are experiencing these emotions. But all emotions really show up when we go to face the world. It is said that सबको सबका सच दिखता है. तो similarly, all our emotions of pride, anger are also giving us a frequency with which we operate. Um, Similarly, the more higher we move into our frequency of accepting what has happened in your career has happened, and dealing from the frequency of willingness, reason, the more we would be in the flow frequency. So that was about this, and there are a lot of ways in which you can raise your vibrations. Some of them are listed here. So do whatever works for you, whether it is laughing, whether it is dancing, whether it's eating right. Just see whatever works for you, but make sure that you are kind of vibrating at a higher frequency. So the first secret is letting go of the limiting beliefs by vibrating at a much higher frequency. I don't know if you all saw that ad which has been put up by Tanishq on um, the Mother's Day, in which that lady goes after a 14 months career gap for an interview. Did anyone see that ad? Uh, is my network giving any issues? Am I audible or not? Audible. Okay, fine. So the that ad that I was talking about, in which that lady is going after a 14 months gap for an interview. That was really very touching. I would want all of you to kind of play that, in which uh, when she's being asked why there's a 14 months career gap on her resume, she kind of very confidently mentions that she was working in life boot camp, wherein she had a little trainee who had to be trained everything about life, and that kind of taught her how to uh, groom someone who is completely new into the world. And she the way she explains it in terms of what qualities it helped bring out in her, so that was really amazing. So similarly, in terms of this gap, there has to be, first of all, an acceptance at your own level that yes, this gap is there, and I'm not going to hide it, but I'm at the same time I'm going to ensure that whatever skills I have developed in this gap, whether they are technical skills, whether they are kind of managerial skills in terms of organizing some events, or getting writing something, or those get showcased, that you are not someone who would let that time to be completely blank in terms of any skill development. That is really important, to kind of have some sort of a skill development during that phase, whether it is in terms of taking new courses, or volunteering at for some NGOs, or some events to be set up. So that is extremely important to do. Uh, Now, the second secret that I want to get to today is about the secret of personal branding. So, whether you are just starting your career or you're at the top of your career, every one today has to build a personal brand for themselves. So, I would just ping a link here, and you can just go to this link and let me know what your LinkedIn SSI score is. How many of you know what is LinkedIn SSI? Just type in no if you know what LinkedIn SSI is. Okay, okay. Anyone else who knows about it? Or you can just go to this link and check out your score on this LinkedIn SSI. I just pinged it on the chat. Just click it, and you need to be logged on to LinkedIn to check this. Just once you're done, just let me know your LinkedIn SSI score. That would be current social selling index, that number which you will get. Just let me know what that number is. For Vivan, it's 58. Okay. Am I still sharing my screen? 45. How do I see it now? You just have to click on this link, and it will go to a browser, and you would be able to see it. Uh, okay. Anyone else who wants to give their? And it's absolutely fine if it is low at the moment, because a lot of us are not aware of the power of LinkedIn, and it's absolutely fine if we are not having a very good score. Uh, yeah, so what is low or high, Vivan, is basically anything above or close to 60 is fine. So I think yours is still okay. It's is not that low. 58 is still okay, but we can definitely work on taking it higher. 70 and higher is a very good score. To take it high is basically you have to, there are four components basically. First of all, having the right people, engaging with other people's content, and adding new people, and also building your own content. We will go through few steps, though LinkedIn is a very huge topic and Mahadev says he's not on LinkedIn, then you should definitely sign up and be on LinkedIn. Whether uh, LinkedIn, for anyone who is either wanting to get into a job or wants to establish himself as a personal brand for freelancing or business, LinkedIn is a very, very good platform. It has reached much higher than the other social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and all that. So definitely, those of you who are not on LinkedIn should uh, try to be on LinkedIn and check what LinkedIn can do to the power of LinkedIn. So, because personal branding is a very huge topic, we would restrict ourselves to LinkedIn discussion on LinkedIn in this particular session. And whether you are wanting to get into freelancing or you are wanting to get into a mainstream job market, LinkedIn is a very good platform to be on. And we would just to kind of cover briefly, we'll look at four steps to kind of leverage LinkedIn best for your job search, out of which the first very important step is to first of all know who is your target audience. So, your target audience would be people who are either in similar role in a job that you are targeting, or at a higher position in the company or the role that you are targeting. So first of all, you need to be clear in your mind what are the kind of roles that you are targeting, and who are the people who can help you get into those roles or those companies. So you need to have a clear um, list and clarity in your mind about those people. And the LinkedIn algorithm works in a way that whatever are your first 500 connections on LinkedIn, or in fact the first 100 connections, it will show you similar people based on those kind of connections that you already have. So if you somehow have some irrelevant connections on your LinkedIn, people who, because maybe you are a chemical engineer and you have a lot of chemical engineers in your profile, but now you have nothing to do with chemical engineering, you are into marketing. So it's best to kind of restrict adding more chemical engineers. And if you want to remove, there is a way in which you can remove your unwanted connections um, on LinkedIn as well. um, so I would show you by sharing my screen in some time about the way in which you can remove the unwanted connections. But before that, I want to recall a bit about the first step. So we discussed two steps. There are two more steps um, in which we have to move ahead. But the first two steps that we discussed, the first step was, first of all, I would want to hear from you. What was the first step that we discussed about leveraging the power of LinkedIn for job search? What is the first step that we have to be keep in mind? If you could let me know in the chat, that would be great. What is the first step? Improve your score is a process, but for that, the blueprint that we have to follow is, first of all, being aware of what are the kind of people that we want to add um, in our network. Uh, so that is the first step, and the second step is in terms of um, the second step is in terms of removing the unwanted connections that are there. Mahadev, if you are not on LinkedIn, that is fine. We would touch briefly about the gap, how you could cover that in the resume and the interviews also. But let's first cover LinkedIn. And like I said, if you're not on LinkedIn, it is extremely important that you are now starting to add people on LinkedIn and starting that process of being active on LinkedIn uh, if you are looking for a job, because LinkedIn is a very good platform for job seekers as well. So I would first want to complete LinkedIn and then get to some pointers about resume and interview during this stream. Uh, so we were on removing unwanted connections which are irrelevant to you at this point of time. The third step is to optimize your profile um, on LinkedIn, which itself is a huge topic in terms, but I would probably be doing a separate stream, especially on LinkedIn. But today I would just briefly want to cover on what all topics of profile optimization um, can you look at. First of all, apart from the headline, which should have the keywords and your summary, there is one very important element in the LinkedIn profile which a lot of people miss out on, which is right from your profile photo. This is a place wherein people build a connection with you based on um, how they feel, how much approachable you are on LinkedIn. And if you are putting in a photo in which your face is hardly visible and the entire building and the entire environment is visible, that's not the right photo to be put on LinkedIn. It has to be a close-up photo wherein your face covers two-thirds of that entire place, and you have a cover image which sort of shows, represents what you stand for. So that is extremely important to have that cover image is kind of your banner, your website on LinkedIn, and it's important. So you can use different tools to build that. It could be, just searching on Canva for LinkedIn banner and then adding something from there. And I'm sure, do you all use Canva? Just type in yes if you use Canva and you know how to use Canva. It's a very simple tool to use, and you just have to search there in terms of what is what is it that represents you, and you can edit very easily in terms of, it can be a picture, it can therein there is some text about uh, what you stand for. So that is basically a place for you to show what you stand for. So LinkedIn profile optimization is a huge topic, right from the photo and banner to what you write in terms of your headline and your summary. Um, it is a platform wherein you start conversation. So that is very important before you kind of start writing your content or engaging with other people's content, first of all, these three things need to be fixed. Which is, first thing was connecting with the right people, and it cannot happen probably in one day that you would connect with hundreds and thousands of people. So a strategy of every day adding few relevant people to your profile would be a sensible decision, rather than thinking that one day suddenly there will be a lot of connections. Like, all of us know, whether you are in job or you are on a career gap, networking is your network. The more people you have in your network, that makes it much easier for you to land the opportunities that you're looking for. Because when you're applying for opportunities in the open market, it is very difficult to get differentiated. But when you are applying through some reference, or directly applying to the hiring manager, uh, that time the probability of getting selected is much higher. So working on developing a very good network is very important. And now, if you would say that we are in pandemic, we are not going out and meeting people, how do we network? People have been able to build amazing networks virtually in this pandemic, using the power of LinkedIn, especially from the job perspective and saying. So before you get to content creation, which is a very good way to build your personal brand, it is really very important to, first of all, work on optimizing your profile, in the sense, when you are engaging with someone's content or you're writing, when people click on your profile, they know what you stand for and who this person is. So it is important to, first of all, have an optimized profile. And then the next step, uh, I think we discussed four already. The most important step, besides engaging with other people's content, is to start creating your own content. Now, a lot of you will say, what kind of content do we create? We are not some experts and all, but trust me, there is a lot of ways in which you can start building your influence in a particular field. And it's not just for management folks, it's also for technical people who can show their competence by building slowly building content on their websites. At this stage, I would want to show you an example on LinkedIn platform itself. Let me just share my screen and just let me know once my screen has uh, loaded. Okay, just let me know if my screen is visible. Type in visible in the chat. Okay, fine. So, like I said, if you see this lady's profile, her name is Shramishta Chatterjee, and she is basically a Google developer. And I met her in one of the events, and I realized, she had leveraged a lot of power of LinkedIn by kind of creating content for her. Uh, Not just she has this blog which kind of has helped her build a lot of traction in terms of her own thought leadership in AI. And because of this thought leadership that she had built using this blog, in which she was regularly contributing and writing about various experiences of the technical papers that she was reading, she was able to develop a brand for herself. And she landed some very good opportunities on in her field of AI. And this was when she was in the ninth month of her pregnancy, and she was kind of expected to go on a break. But because of the brand that she had built for herself, she was able to get herself a lot of opportunities by incoming opportunities, not just reaching out to people and asking them for opportunities. But because of this, let's just see what this tech AI is about. um, this is basically a blog wherein she is writing about AI and data science. um, so this helped her to kind of develop a lot of traction around her profile, and she was able to land in a lot of opportunities because of this brand that she built for herself. There is another lady in the same space, because generally we associate brand building and personal branding with non-technical and leadership profiles. But a lot of uh, technical people are also leveraging the power of personal branding and landing in amazing opportunities. So you can see that this lady is also writing regularly about AI, data science, and she's been able to land amazing opportunities because of that. Um Now, going to my own journey, I kind of was like a lot of you who was on LinkedIn for ages but had never kind of done anything significantly in terms of writing anything, or in terms of being active through articles and or anything. So my journey started around 1.5 year back, wherein I started creating small posts and articles. And if you see on LinkedIn, though a lot of people may not actively engage with your posts, the views are huge. So even if it's just uh, you know um, some 4 likes also on this post, the views are huge. So if you see, when I started on LinkedIn, I thought that I'll start with articles, and I started writing some articles. But in LinkedIn, the reach with articles is very less as compared to posts. So the good news is that you don't have to write in tons and tons of content, just small posts do amazing on LinkedIn. The posts can be about either, it can be a mix and match of your areas of interest to what you want to build your personal brand on. And to start with, you can start with topics that you are most comfortable with, and you feel that if someone tells you to get up and talk about that topic, that would be the first thing that would come to your mind. So if you see here, uh, on this LinkedIn article that I started almost, I think, 1.5 year back, the views were very limited. There was just 55 views on this article. Similarly, then another article, again, the views were limited. But similar engagement on a post, like just these 11, 12 likes that I was getting at that time, the views were 1098. That kind of amazed me, that the reach of posts, even with LinkedIn is not a platform like Facebook wherein a lot of your friends will like, comment and all that. Maybe people may not initially be liking or commenting, but they're silently observing what you're doing. And there are a lot of views uh, that the algorithm gives you, like even with just 11, 12 um, engagement of likes, the views are huge. And the good news is that if you are camera shy, this platform does not really need you to be on camera or anything. Just normal text posts also do amazing on LinkedIn. So even the text posts give you very good. In fact, text posts do much better on LinkedIn as compared to the video posts. The views are much more in the text kind of format on LinkedIn. So similarly, as in, so you have to keep kind of that consistency up, try different things, what is working for you and what is not. And a lot of times I have seen personal stories sometimes too amazing on LinkedIn because people are able to relate to it, and they give very good views. But in case you are not wanting to start with that, even sharing content and what you are reading from other sources on any topic of your interest is an amazing place uh, to start with. So I would just take a little pause here and take few questions before I move on to the next topic. Uh, um, can anyone recall the 5 steps that I mentioned for leveraging the power of LinkedIn? You can just type into the chat box. The 5 steps that I mentioned is the first step. What was the first step? Profile comes later. First, we need to know who our target audience is, and we are adding relevant people from the target audience in our connections. Number two is we are removing people who are irrelevant from our audience, from our connections. That is number two. Number three gets to profile optimization, wherein we are optimizing our profile right from the photo to the banner to what we write in the summary to then getting recommendations, endorsements. That kind of helps people build trust if you have more recommendations or endorsements on your LinkedIn profile. And number four is engaging with other people's content on LinkedIn. So, if to start with you have not yet started creating your own content, that's fine. Start putting in some meaningful comment in terms of not just a like or a random good job or amazing, but a relevant, meaningful, insightful comment wherein you are adding your 2 cents to um, you know the person. And everyone, whether he is the CEO or the person who's just starting, wants people to engage with their content. And if you are kind of giving them an opportunity by putting in relevant comments, then when you send a connection request, that will kind of help them, oh yeah, this person regularly kind of gives some meaningful insights in my to my content, and I should definitely be starting a conversation or accepting um, the invite of such a person. And then last is about building your own content, which can be around your area of interest. You read some books on that particular topic. You give your 2 cents of what you summarize based on your own experience of that book. It can be a management book, it can be a technical book, but you are somehow showing uh, that to the world that you are someone who is uh, there to add value to the network. So it's said that before you ask something from the network, you first of all need to give a lot of value to the network. And Garima brought a very, very important point, which was the last secret, which was that consistency is the key. Whether it is posting on LinkedIn or adding regular connections or regularly engaging with the audience, consistency is very important. Consistency is the biggest hack, whether it's LinkedIn or in other areas of our life. Now, Karima, what exactly is your question in terms of what should be the consistency of the content, or like how often should you post? Is that correct? Is that what you are asking? So, um, to start with, you commit to yourself whether you want to keep that consistency based on your current bandwidth and situation. But two, three things like, adding relevant people and engaging with other people's content, and first of all, optimizing your profile, uh, that should be the first kind of step. And ideally you can keep a regular time every single day to do that during weekdays, because that's when a lot of people are active on LinkedIn on weekdays. And in terms of posting your own content, you can decide the frequency, whether you want to keep it weekly, twice, thrice, based on your own bandwidth. Ideally, the best case would be to post every single day. But to start with, you can even keep it once a week, or you know, um, once in 10 days. But then make sure that you are at least engaging with other people's content, and creating something once a week should be doable if you don't have a lot of bandwidth. But ideal case would be 3 4 times a week. Yeah. Hope your question was around the consistency of posting. Is that what you were asking, Garima? Okay, fine. So we touched on LinkedIn. Now I think it was majorly Mahadev who was asking about resume and uh, interview tips on for career gap. But I just resume is generally a very big topic in itself. I wouldn't be in a position to touch it in detail. Maybe we'll have another stream in uh, this week or next week on that. But briefly, I just want to know how many of you know about ATS friendly resume, which is applicant tracking system friendly resumes. Do you all know about what ATS is, applicant tracking system? If you know, just type in no. If you don't know, type in TK. If you know, just type in K in the chat. What applicant tracking system is. If you know about that, just type in K. Am I audible? Is to yes, yes, okay. Okay. So there is something known as ATS, applicant tracking system. I believe a lot of you may not be aware of that, but it is a lot of companies get insane amount of applications for every job that they advertise on. So it's not possible for them to go through these piles of resume. For every one posting that they have, they will get some, you know 700, 800 people applying. I'm sure when you see people applying on LinkedIn jobs or on Naukri, you will see like 800 people applied for this position, especially for bigger organizations. So 98% of the bigger organizations, sometimes, not sometimes, most of them use an applicant tracking system to filter out people, because the recruiter can just maybe call 5 to 7 people up, or maybe 10 people for one position. It's not possible for her to go through hundreds of people's resume and then kind of filter out or see who is the person who should be called for the interview. So it is very important to have uh, your resume, which is um, which is ATS friendly. So ATS friendly, basically the bot will filter out most of the resumes based on uh, a lot of criteria, like many a times we have a lot of tables in our resume. A lot of people have, and tables the bot is not able to read properly. So if it's not able to read, it will just throw that resume out. If there is it doesn't find the relevant keywords which were there in the job description in the resume, maybe you are calling the same thing by some other name, so it will kind of maybe you have not written sales but business development, and it was not one of the keywords in the resume. So it's very important to customize your resume for every requirement. Just to get a feel, what do you think should be the ideal uh, length of your resume? You can type in the chat um, what you think should be the ideal length of your resume. One page. Okay. Yeah, 1 or 2 pages at the max. Even if you have 15, 20 years of experience, your resume should not be running into multiple pages. So it is extremely important to have that one page cover the gist of your entire journey of your career. And there are a lot of do's and don'ts which we generally have to um, consider when we are making our resume ATS friendly. And the first very important thing is that don't use those fancy templates which you are getting on Canva and all. Those are okay for designers and all, but for your actual use, which is if you're applying on these portals or on LinkedIn, where and there are a lot of other people applying and there is it is being used, it is best to have a simple traditional resume prepared until and unless you are a designer and you want to show your designing skills. And there are a lot of sites wherein you can get the templates for these ATS friendly resumes, and also how you can check and customize your resume based on that. One I have pinged on the chat. Um, you can go to this and you can find some good formats, templates which are ATS friendly. This site will also help you to give a match rate based on what your current uh, you know job description that you are applying for is. You just do a kundali matching between your resume and the job description. It will give you, like, 68% match, 50% match, 40% match. And I can probably show you quickly, uh, though I think I have running out of. I will do a detailed stream on it, so just keep a watch on having watch a detailed stream on the resume topic. Uh, but just briefly, quickly sharing this site which I kind of showed you right now, which is a job scan, and you can just see here you can upload. There are only 10 free screenings here. So um, if you are really wanting, after that you'll have to pay to use this, and there are some alternatives which are free, but this one is one of the best. So you have to kind of upload it here and then job description here, and then it will kind of give you the results in terms of what um, is the percentage match between your resume and your job description. So very important to customize your resume and keep your resume simple. And a simple text is much easier read than all these fancy formats and templates. But at the same time, what you write should be quantifiable in terms of your achievements for each role, and your duration. And like I said, do not lie on your resume. It is your first thing which will get affected is your credibility. So if you have a career gap in your resume, please don't hide it. Uh, just don't highlight it, but don't hide it. And if there is a year in between which you have not worked, that's fine. You have worked from 13 to 16, then from 16 to 18 there is nothing. You have again started from 18, or maybe there is now a gap. So first of all, be your authentic uh, self when you are going for an interview. And you should be able to uh, talk about that gap in terms of why that gap was necessary, and what activities you did in that gap, and how those activities have helped you to further enhance your skills. And though I think it would be an overkill to interview topic also that today, uh, but interview itself will require a lot of storytelling, in which I will be taking probably a separate stream or session on interview storytelling, how important storytelling during an interview is, in terms of how you build that story with which you want to show your credibility in terms of the uh, your skills using the STAR framework, etc. So keep a watch. And I also want to talk about a 8-week program that I take for professionals, and that is basically conducted on Sunday mornings or evenings, depending on the availability of most of the people. It's a small cohort of maybe 3 to 4 people, and sometimes we do one-on-one sessions also for people who need it. And if you are interested to know more about that program in terms of what that program is, then you can stay on for few minutes. I will just be giving some details about that program as well here. And I'm also posting a Calendly link here, in terms of if you think you are wanting help in some area personally through one-on-one coaching, you can quickly set up a 10-minute connect, in terms of wherein we can see if we are a good mutual fit for each other's requirement. So you can use this Calendly link to set up a small 10-minute connect. And I will now briefly run you through what that 8-week ACE program is about, that we conduct over the weekends. But let me just share my screen and take you briefly through what that program is about. Hopefully my screen is visible. Let me know visible if it is visible. Type in visible in the chat for me to know if it is okay. Fine. Okay. So hopefully what was covered till now, hopefully that content was valuable, though I think there is a lot of depth in each of those areas, whether it is LinkedIn profile optimization, content creation, personal brand building, building a perfect career driven mindset. All those areas need a lot of work, but hopefully I was able to give you some insights in this session. So yeah, uh, this is one of my favorite figures in terms of this shows, which I was also operating for a lot of time, in terms of most of us are in this comfort zone wherein we are now feeling that we don't want to be intimidated by so many new things to learn, by so many you know um, new ways of doing things. Whatever has been happening, we want that same sort of routine to keep happening forever. And we are surrounded, this comfort zone is surrounded by this fear zone, wherein we find excuses why we cannot do things. We lack confidence and we don't want to get into a zone of learning. But if we leave these two zones and get into this learning zone and get into the zone of problem solving, by in which we acquire new skills, that is when we will then move towards this growth zone, wherein we will be able to expand our vision and define new goals for ourselves. So a lot of times, we keep procrastinating things, whether we as women or as men, we will always find excuses why we cannot do that thing now. And that is very rightly said by a lot of my mentors, is procrastination will mean poverty. So we will get lost in these river of excuses, where we'll be either that there'll be a lot of distractions. We'll get lost. We will always find a way in which why we should not be doing this thing right now, because we are operating from that comfort zone, from that fear zone, and we are not wanting to get out of that. So a lot of time, people are stuck in their careers, and fail to accelerate their careers because of any of these reasons, either lack of knowledge, mentorship, planning, or to top it all, action. There is so much noise out there in the market. There is overload of information, but what is missing is action. That is the most important step. We will be overloaded by 1,000 videos on what to do on in interviews, what to do on LinkedIn, but the only thing is that because of that overload, we get overwhelmed and will not take any action. So we very easily spend on clothes and wasteful expenses, maybe lot of expenses. But when it comes to career acceleration programs, we would hesitate a lot. So option one is to try and understand things on our own and through trial and error, or you can learn a simple step by step process to which will save you a lot of experimentation. So you can choose whichever option is uh, good for you. You can type in whichever option works for you, whether it's option A or option B, but that is absolutely your choice in terms of what you think will be best for you. So the program that I'm getting to is the 8-week ACE um, career acceleration program. So it is basically, we start with the assessment of the current mindset, because a lot of time when we are on a career gap, there are a lot of mindset issues that need to be fixed. There is also a skill gap assessment, wherein what are the skills needed for your dream job and where you are currently. There may be a skill gap in between, and that assessment before we go to the destination, first of all need to know where we are currently. And then in terms of your personal brand assessment, where you are currently in terms of building your personal brand. And then we'll building competency in each of these areas, right from mindset to goal planning to personal brand building. Then we'll go towards the execution of building powerful networks, tapping into the hidden job market. Like we said, a lot of jobs are not advertised openly. And then salary negotiations. So these are the A to B implementation. Like I said, action is what is the most important element of this entire journey, and avoiding information overload, only giving that much information which is needed and not overwhelming you, is what is the goal of this program. So we are doing it at a slow pace, so that we have sufficient gap in between two sessions to for you to take action, because that's the most important step. Just overloading you with information may not help. But sometimes if there are few people who want to accelerate maybe from 8 to 4 and want to do two sessions, that can be kind of discussed mutually, and we can see if we want to accelerate it. But the most important reason why there has been certain gap between two sessions is for you to give sufficient time to take action right from week one, wherein we kind of um, analyze where we are currently in our current mindset assessment, to developing that career driven mindset, to then developing a roadmap and identifying the gaps. Week 3 would be about much more detail about the resume, cover letter, and approach letter. Week 4 would be much in depth about optimization, content creation, and networking. We will observe what is our communication style currently and how we can adapt it to the other person's communication style for job or promotion interviews. We will also be looking at tapping into the hidden job market in week 6, and 7 would be about, like I said, a lot of times, we have a lot of stories, but we have never penned them down in terms of when we exhibited that particular trait. So that we'll be discussing in week 7, and last would be the week 8. So there'll be weekly masterminds, and there'll be few one-on-one strategy calls as well, and we'll have all these sessions recorded on this Thinkific. So like I said, I this is a passion for me, but if you give something for free, a lot of people don't take action because they haven't invested anything in it. So it's a very nominal investment. And once you are, if you are interested, just book that one-on-one call, and we can get into a call and see if we are a good mutual fit. Any questions before we close today? Let me know. We have last 4 5 minutes uh, before we close. We can take few questions. Just let me know in the chat if you have any questions. Mahadev is asking how to work better with recruiters. I think this entire session was about that, in terms of right from building your personal brand on LinkedIn, wherein you would be more visible to the recruiters, to in terms of your resume optimization to ATS, and uh, how to reach out to them. Yeah, so reach out to them through LinkedIn by creating a profile. So if you're not on LinkedIn, that's really very uh, you're missing upon a lot of recruiters, because 90% of the big recruiters are on LinkedIn, and they are looking actively for candidates on LinkedIn as well. Yeah. uh, Anyone else who has any other questions? All right. So if any of you would want to set up that those one-on-one call, do let me know, and we would connect. Otherwise, on some other streams on the same channel. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you. Bye bye.